Good morning. Welcome to this webinar on the Predictor LimA Cloud Calculation Service. I'm Erwin Hartog van Banda, and I will be your presenter for this morning. Have a look at the agenda for this morning. I've split it in two parts. The first part is the Predictor LimA Cloud Calculation Service. Give you a small demonstration, talk about licenses, and then we have a short time for questions and answers. Then the second part is the new features on Predictor version 2021. I'll give you an overview. I'll show you the tiling and the new EU noise exposure option. And also then we can go into the questions and answers. So, part one, the Predictor LimA Cloud Calculation Service. I hope that you can all hear me. I'm just checking. There's no, yeah, okay, that's good. Yeah, okay. So the Predictor LimA Cloud Calculation Service, PLCCS, it's a new add-on product from SoftNoise. It's an add-on to an existing Predictor LimA license. A license on the cloud service activates the new cloud calculation option in Predictor, the new version of Predictor 2021. I'll demonstrate that to you later. In Predictor version 2021, there are now two types of calculation. You've got a local calculation, and this needs a predictor license and a hasp key. And there's a cloud calculation. That needs a predictor license and a cloud license, but you do not need a hasp key. So that makes it possible to work anywhere, from home, office, cafeteria, anywhere you want to start and watch your calculations. The benefit, of course, is that it upgrades your single user local license to a multi-user cloud license. Like I explained, you can use it anywhere, from the home, the office, or any other location, and you do not need a dongle. Fast and secure calculations, and you do not need additional hardware or IT investment. If you look at the infrastructure, the service itself is located in ISO 27001 certified data center, and all access to the service is through a secured and certificate HTTPS connection. And that is the standard nowadays for data centers and for connecting to data centers. So it's the maximum secured connection. All data uploaded to the web service is always temporary. Once a calculation is finished, the data will remain up to a maximum of 1 week. And in that time, you can download your results. After 7 days, after 1 week, all data is deleted, and there's no backup made of any data on the server. So it's a really secure setting. Okay, give you a small demonstration. Switch over to Predictor. And let's open this project, demonstration version 2021 webinar. Here, of course, you have the open model dialog with the organization structure, the areas, version, and models. Let's suppose that I want to calculate this model, contours situation 2010, scenario 1. I open the model, I go to the calculations, start calculation, and here you see the option. You have either a local calculation or a cloud calculation. When you select a cloud calculation, the only thing that's needed, you can also skip it, but it's easy to enter your email address, because then you get an email notification when your calculation is finished. So I enter my email address and I say start. Then the data is uploaded, uploading calculation data, calculation is started, and you can close the dialog. When you then look at your model structure, you see that behind the name of your model, a small wheel is shown. That shows that it's being calculated in the cloud. So wheel in motion. So, and now you can continue using Predictor. That's one of the benefits. You can also see that I've got also additional calculations running at the moment. I've got this model running, Blanes and Woerden. I can always make a copy. Let's make a copy of Woerden 2021. I'll change the name to Woerden. Let's say that we also go and calculate a scenario. And again, I open the model and I do a start calculation. And I also say this is a cloud calculation. Start. Also, the model is uploaded and the calculation is started. You can close your model. You also see that this second model now also has this wheel. So there are now 3 models calculating over here, and also there's a model calculating over here. 4 models. You can check the progress of the calculation in the cloud by going to Calculations, Cloud Calculation Service. Here you see all the progress. You see that this model that I just started is now calculating. The other model is still pending, but will also start calculating. These 2 models are completed. That was the Blanes Scenario 1 and Woerden 2020. I can now download these results. So I click on my completed calculation, I say download. Then it's unpacking, integrating, it's downloading, integrating the results, and it's taken off from the list. The next one I can also download, Woerden 2020, integrating the results, and also that model is taken off from the calculation list. You see that now also my second model has started calculating, Woerden 2020. Okay, so now I can check it if my 2 models, yep, these 2 models were calculated and they're now both done. So if I open scenario 1, I can now view my contours. Let me also show you a nice new feature in 2021. That's with this click, you can show your contours and your labels. So this makes it more easy. This is the quick link option to show or not show your contours, or enable or disable your backgrounds. So in fact, that's all you need to know. These were all the models. These are now calculating. This one is almost done. This one is being calculated. You can also show the calculations from other projects from your colleagues, because a cloud license is a multi-user cloud license. Also your colleagues can calculate. And here you see that there are, if I check the show all calculations option, you see that there are many more calculations done and even completed. But these are in a different project. So I can go to the other project, File, Open Project. That's this one. And you see that this is a model I've been using to tile a large model, the model of Arnhem. And here you see that I've done it twice. The first tiling, that's already been calculated. And this is the next tiled model, 9 tiles. And if you go to the calculation service, and now I see the calculations done for this project. And you see they're all completed, so I can click on the button download all. And then it's integrating the results of all the tiles. Integrating results. So tile for tile, the results are downloaded and integrated in your project. And that's basically it. That's how it works. Let me just wait until this part is done. this is the last. Creating results. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 models. Yeah, almost done. Okay, so all the models have been calculated, have been downloaded, and now they are taken off the list. Actually, that's all there is to know about the cloud calculation. So it works really simple. If I switch back to my PowerPoint, it works really simple and convenient. Let me go one step back. No, that's okay. So if you look at the licenses, a standard license on the cloud calculation service is available as a 1-year rental license, and the costs are €960 per year, so it's a reasonable cost. You can also increase your performance up to 10 times the standard performance by requesting a customized Pro license. So those are the two options. You've got a standard license, €960 per year, and a customized license. We call that a Pro license. And then you can choose between the 2 and the 10, and then we'll give you an offer. It's on request, because we think that this one will not happen that much. Only when you are in stress and you need to finish your project, then of course, then you are in need of a bigger performance. Okay, then a summary. The cloud calculation service gives you fast calculations using a secure data center. You can use it anywhere, from the home, the office, or any other location. You do not need a dongle, and that's of course very convenient. You do not need to invest in additional hardware software. If you want to increase your speed, your calculation speed, you simply take a 1-month Pro license. You can use Predictor normally for local calculations or editing or whatever during your cloud calculations. There's no performance loss on your local PC, of course, because the calculation is done in the cloud and not on your PC. You can even turn it off, and you get a notification per email when the calculation is finished. And as you saw, it's just as easy to use as local calculations. Costs are €960 per year, and you can request a free trial license on our SoftNoise website. And you can check it out yourself, try it out yourself. We, of course, next to the benefit that you do not need a dongle, there's of course a benefit that you can upscale your performance. And that's of course needed in the next year when you start doing the large-scale noise mapping, which in the European Union, which need to be done in 2022. And my guess is that next year those projects will start. Okay, then I'll continue with the next part. New features in Predictor 2021. In the README file of Predictor 2021 is the complete list of all new features, and I will highlight some of those new features. New is a new EU population option that calculates the number of exposed people and dwellings for both single and multi-dwellings. This option is based on address points, and I'll show you in some sheets later on in this presentation. It creates a tabular view that can be copied to Excel, but also can be saved as a shapefile. And in order to do this, we needed to change the receiver at Facade option and also to add a new property building type. I'll show you later on in this presentation. We've improved the tiling functionality. You can now import the result of tiled models into the original model. Up until version 2020, you could tile a model into several tiled models, but all these tiled models kept their individual results and you could not get them back in the mother model, in the original model. And now we can. That's of course a big benefit, because then you don't need to handle all these separate tiles anymore. You can use it as one model again. We've increased the performance of the terrain model calculation and the performance for generating the noise contours. Some nice additional features are an added property by expression. I'll show you later on that you can now change a specific property of a selected number of items by using a numeric or textual expression. The 3D view now uses the display settings of items, so you can do thematic coloring, etc. in the 3D view. What's also, I think, convenient is that by default, the 3D view now shows the current 2D model. That means if you have a big European noise map model, you can zoom in that model and then select the 3D view, and then you only see the 3D view of that part. And that speeds up the performance of the 3D view, of course, because the 3D view doesn't need to show everything. Now only the zoomed in part is shown as a 3D view. There's a new quick links bar in the sidebar, very convenient. New menu option catalogs. We already had that catalog option, but now we also have a new internal catalog editor, which is also very convenient of editing catalog files and some additional other stuff. I want to go into the calculation of the number of exposed people and dwellings. This is a part of the text of Knossos, and in red, a proposal of the RIVM document. This is still a proposal, and it is still not final, but there's a good chance that this will become final, although you never know in Europe. What it says is that the number of dwellings and people living in dwellings allocated to a receiver point shall be weighted by the length of the represented facade. That means that we need to know the length of the facade. What it also says is only for buildings with single dwellings, the most exposed facade noise level is directly used for the statistics. So there's a distinction between multi-dwelling and single dwelling. That means that we needed a type per building. We now need, and we added this building type where you can distinguish between single dwelling and multi-dwelling. For the single dwelling, the buildings, we assign all people to the most exposed facade, and for multi-dwelling buildings, you use the ratio of the facade length. That's what it says. This is method 1, case 1, and there's also a case 2, in fact case 2a and b, that's a bit similar, also weighted by the length of the facade. So that means that we had to add a building type, and we did so. We added a building type that you can use to distinguish between multi-dwellings and single dwellings. We already had the designated use to distinguish between residential and commercial buildings, for instance. Then in the option create receivers at facades, where you can select the case 1, the Knossos case 1, case 2a, case 2b, etc. We have added the option to add the facade length to the receiver description with this checkbox. And if you have done so, then the receivers created will have the facade length in the description. So then between the smaller than and larger than signs, length is 2.79 meters. And that's automatically done during the creation of the receivers around the facades. That's because we needed that information. Then it's all based on address points, of course. This is an example of an address point. An address point is a location inside a building where it says how many people and how many dwellings are attached to that location. So an address point is a location with number of people and number of dwellings attached. If there are more address points in one building, then we simply sum them up. So address points need to be located in the buildings, and multiple address points in the same building are summed up. That's done automatically. And then we come on the new option, EU population. That's a menu option. This is a completely new option where you can select here the residential building use, where you can select from all the different designated use properties of all buildings in your model. You simply select them, only the residential buildings, and then here you have to distinguish between the single dwelling and the multi-dwelling, and that's done on this new property building type. And here you can select which type has to be counted as a single dwelling and which type has to be counted as a multiple dwelling. That's it, and then you simply click Start. And after this exercise is done, you get this list, this tabular view, where of course the most important information is the top line, where it says how many people and how many dwellings are there within 5 dB noise classes for the LDen, the L-night, and also the L-day and the L-evening. And not only the total, but also per building. So it's a complete list of all buildings in your model. So it could be 100,000 buildings, complete list. You can copy this complete list to the clipboard if you want with this button, or you can store it as a shapefile. And then you've got all your buildings with all these properties attached to the buildings, and that you can use maybe in a GIS environment to do more with it. But already with the copy to clipboard and only make a graph of your top, the total line, that's of course the most important information. Then, as I said, we now have an option, model import tile results. Internally in your project, Predictor knows which model has been tiled. And if this model is a tiled model, and you select import tile result, then automatically all the tiles, all the results will be read and integrated again in your model. And then, of course, you can use this big model again for your EU population exposure. So you do not need to go to GIS to do that. You can do it all in Predictor. With the tile model option, you create all the tiles. Then maybe with the cloud calculation, you can calculate them, you download the results, and then you use the model import tile results. It's an import within your project in this case. And then you get one big model with all your results. And this is beneficial because this supports this project flow for noise exposure. And normally you start with your shapefiles for the buildings, the roads, the ground cover, the address points, the height lines, and that's what you import from GIS. Then within Predictor you create your receivers at facades. The facade length is automatically created. Then you tile your model, and then you create your tiles. You can calculate the tiles either with local calculation or with the cloud calculation option, the new cloud calculation option. And then you use the new import tile result option. You use the new EU population option, and you've got your data. And the data can be exported to Excel or GIS. And this is an example by exporting to Excel and showing a graph. Then another option, property by expression, and this gives you the option of changing one property of a selection of items. For instance, you have selected all buildings in your model, and now you want to change the name property and use it as a number, that every building has a unique number, and also that you can make a sorted list. That's done, for instance, by choosing text expression, then use a counter option, start 1, step 1, position 3, if you have less than 1,000 buildings, because this option will automatically add leading 0 characters. And some customers, users, like to have a nicely sorted list. But you can also increase your sound power level with 10 decibel up to a maximum of 120 decibel. Or if you have the number of floors in the description field, you can multiply the number of floors times 3 and then use it as the height field. For instance, that's all possible within this new property by expression option. Then the catalog files, that's of course not new. New is the building type. That's of course a new catalog file, but the other ones were already in 2020, version 2020. But now new is now this internal catalog editor. All these files can now be edited directly internally within Predictor. You can insert lines, you can delete lines, you can search in this list, and you can copy the full list to Excel and also paste it from Excel. So that's an easy way of editing your catalogs in Predictor. Then the 3D view. Now it also uses the display settings of the items. For instance, the thematic coloring. This is, for instance, to distinguish between single and multi-dwellings and sheds. The yellow color is the multi-dwellings, the purple the single dwellings, for instance, and the orange are the sheds in the gardens. This is a coloring based on the building type. It's a nice view. It gives you a little bit more information, of course. And then last but not least, the quick links in the sidebar. It's a third sidebar. Here you can easily switch on and switch off the backgrounds. So you don't have to go to view background maps and then disable or enable a background map. No, you can, with one click, you can deselect all backgrounds or select some of them and activate them. That's all done in the quick links option. What's also done in the quick link option is to activate the contours on and off, and then you can select the contour areas, the lines, receiver labels, and the grid labels. And so you don't have to go to results, contours, and then say OK. No, it's all done with a quick link. And then start calculation. This one is a local calculation, this one is a cloud calculation. And you open a model, and with one click, your calculation starts. There's no other dialogue in between. So it's an immediate start. And this all saves you mouse clicks. That's why we added the quick links option. And in the future, we will be adding more of those quick links.